Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today we're going to be doing a Fang of Critias Lair of Darkness deck profile. So I'm really excited to see you guys because this deck is an amazing deck to be able to play, summoning out all sorts of powerful Critias fusion monsters like Mirror Force Dragon, which is an insanely powerful boss monster that this deck can summon really easily. Then you just back it up with all sorts of different trap cards. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell on there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like getting your name description in a single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to a patron, along with test hands. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Lith, Lady of Lament. This card is a great 3-up for the deck that has the ability, if this card is normal summoned, its attack becomes 1,000. And then once per turn, you contribute a dark monster to reveal 3 normal trap cards in your deck, and your opponent randomly chooses 1 for you to set to your side of the field. And then you shuffle the rest back into the deck, which is a really good effect to be able to get to any of the trap cards that you need from the deck. We then play 2 copies of Alice, Lady of Lament. This card is a great new card that we recently just got, and it's just absolutely insane for the deck that has the ability that when this card is normal summoned, you can target a Lady of Lament monster in your graveyard and special summon it. And you can only use each of the following effects of her once per turn. That you can banish a trap card from your hand or graveyard to special summon this card from your hand. And if this card is tributed, or if this card in its owner's possession is destroyed by an opponent's card, then you can add a fiend monster whose combined attack and defense is 2,000 from your deck to your hand. Being able to search out your other Ladies of Lament is just really good on this card, and also special summoning into the field is just insane. We then play 3 copies of Tour Guide from the Underworld. This is one of the best normal summons in the deck because it's going to get you to a really powerful card, but also being able to special summon out a level 3 fiend monster from your hand or deck upon normal summoning is just really good. For our tour guide targets, we're going to be playing a single copy of Sandgen. You can summon out the Lady of Lament, but this card is just a really good tour guide target because it has the ability, if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add 1 monster from your deck to your hand that has 1,500 or less attack. But you cannot activate cards or effects of cards with that name for the rest of the turn, which is not that big of a deal because usually you're just setting up with this card. We then play 3 copies of Arima the Wicked Warden. Arima is a great card that's going to help you get to your copy of Lair of Darkness extremely quickly, because you can discard this card from your hand to add Lair of Darkness from your deck to your hand, which is a great effect. We then play a single copy of Darkest Diabolos, Lord of the Lair. This card cannot be tributed by your opponent, and it also has the ability that cannot be targeted with card effects. It also has 2 insanely powerful effects that if a dark monster you control is tributed, then you can special summon this card from your graveyard or your hand, which is a great effect. It also has the ability that you contribute a dark monster, and then your opponent places 1 card from their hand on either the top or the bottom of their deck, which is a really good effect for this card to have. We then play 3 copies of Lord of the Heavenly Prison. This card is an insane 3-of for this deck because it gets you to any spell or trap that you need, with the ability that during your main phase you can activate this effect, that this card in your hand becomes revealed until the end of your opponent's turn. And then while this card is revealed by this card, set cards on the field cannot be destroyed by card effects, protecting all of your back row cards. And if a set spell or trap card is activated except during the damage step, then you can special summon this card from your hand. And if you activate this effect while this card was revealed, you can reveal and set 1 spell or trap directly from your deck, but banish it during the end phase of the next turn. This card can get you to any spell or trap that you need, like Fang of Critias, Mirror Force, Crush card, any of the cards that you need to go into an insanely powerful boss monster, while also giving you protection and giving you an extremely powerful 3k boss monster on your side of the field. We then play 2 copies of Artifact Scythe. Artifact Scythe is a really good card in this deck because when this card is summoned to your side of the field, for the rest of the turn, it locks your opponent down from summoning from the extra deck. And with cards like Artifact Sanctum, we can summon this card during our opponent's turn, which is a really good card effect for this card to have. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing 3 copies of the Fang of Critias. This card is how we go into all of our Critias fusion monsters, and this card is always treated as Legendary Dragon Critias. You send a trap card from your hand or field to the graveyard that listed on a fusion monster that can only be special summoned with the Fang of Critias, and then you just special summon out that monster from your extra deck, which is a really awesome effect. We then play 3 copies of Lair of Darkness. Lair of Darkness is a really insane field spell that all face-up monsters on the field become dark, and then once per turn, if you attribute a monster you control to activate a card effect, you contribute a dark monster your opponent controls, even though you don't control it, which is a really awesome effect because all the monsters on the field become dark while Lair is on the field. It also generates tokens because it has the ability to, once per turn during the end phase, you can special summon as many torment tokens, Fiend, Dark, level 3, 1000 attack, 1000 defense as possible to the turn player's field in defense position, up to the number of monsters tributed this turn while this card was faceable on the field. So for example, during my turn, if I tribute 2 monsters, then I get to get 2 tokens during the end phase. During your turn, if you tribute 2 monsters or I tribute 2 monsters on your turn with some of my trap cards, then you get 2 tokens, which is a really awesome thing for this field spell to be able to do. We then play 3 copies of Super Polymerization. Super Polymerization is an insanely powerful card for this deck because with Lair of Darkness turning everything into dark, this card is just basically going to be able to go into Starving Venom using any 2 monsters on your opponent's side of the field by discarding a card. So this card can out any card, any monster that your opponent puts on the field, which is really insane. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Trap Trick. Trap Trick is basically additional copies of every single normal trap that you play on the deck, because it lets you banish a normal trap from your deck, except another copy of itself, and then set a normal trap with the same name from your deck to your side of the field, which is a really good effect to basically get to any of your trap cards that you need. But the card can be activated this turn, but you can't activate but 1 more trap after this card resolves, which is the only downside to this card. We then play 2 copies of Eradicator. Eradicator is absolutely insane because it lets you tribute a dark monster with 2500 or more attack, and then you choose either spells or traps, and you check all spells and traps on your opponent's side of the field and your opponent's hand and all cards they draw until the end of your opponent's 3rd turn after this card was activated, and destroy all cards of the chosen type. So if you know your opponent's playing a very spell heavy deck or a trap heavy deck, you call appropriately to be able to just basically out their entire deck, which is really insane. We then play 2 copies of Crush Card. Crush Card is a really good 2-of in this deck because this card is going to be one of the ways that you're going to go for your Doom Dragon, which is just a really insane boss monster. You can activate it because we do have targets in the deck for Crush Card, but you don't activate it all that often. We then play 2 copies of Mirror Force. Mirror Force is an insane trap card and super nostalgic to be able to play in this deck. If your opponent attacks, you can destroy all of your opponent's attack possession monsters, but it also lets us go in for Mirror Force Dragon, which is a really insane boss monster. We then play 2 copies of Ring of Destruction. Ring of Destruction is a really powerful trap card that has the ability that during your opponent's turn, you can target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls whose attack is less than or equal to their life points and destroy that face-up monster. And if you do, then take damage equal to the original attack and then inflict damage to your opponent equal to the damage you took. And you can only activate this card once per turn. This card is really good at popping a monster on the field, but also helps us go in for one of our Critias fusion monsters. We then play 3 copies of Artifact Sanctum. Artifact Sanctum is how we're going to be summoning out Scythe all the time, and basically this card is going to help you lock down your opponent's extra deck by summoning Scythe during your opponent's turn, which is a really awesome thing for this deck to do. So that's it for the traps, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Mirror Force Dragon. This card is absolutely nuts. It has the ability that it must be special summoned with the Fang of Critias using Mirror Force. And when a monsters you control is targeted for an attack or by an opponent's card effect, except during the damage step, you can destroy all cards your opponent controls. This makes it so that if your opponent targets you for an attack or any card effect, you board wipe them. This card is so nuts and so good for this deck. It's an amazing card. We then play a single copy of Doom Dragon. Doom Dragon is just a 1-up to me. It's a really powerful card and has the old effect of Crush card with the ability that if this card is special summoned, look at your opponent's hand and all monsters that they control and all cards they draw until the end of the 3rd turn after this card's activation and destroy all those monsters with 1500 or more attack. Really good card, insane effects, and is the old school effect of Crush card. We then play a single copy of Destruction Dragon. Destruction Dragon is really good as well because once per turn, you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls and destroy it. And then if it were one face-up card, and if it was a monster card, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the original attack, which is a pretty good effect. We then play for our Super Poly targets a single copy of Starving Venom Fusion Dragon, which is a great card to summon off Super Poly. One copy of Dragostapelia. Stapelia is a really good boss monster as well, especially if your opponent has Phoenix Enforcer on the field because it requires a fusion monster plus a dark monster to go into this card, so it's super easy to summon this card. One copy of Mud Dragon of the Swamps, which is our last Super Poly target, but it's just a really good card just in case you need to go into it. One copy of Access Code Talker, just to pop a bunch of cards on the field. You can't play Boral Load or Boral Sword if you want to instead of this card, but being able to pop cards is just really good. One copy of Unicorn to spin stuff, Phoenix to pop spells and traps, the Dark Charmer because this card is super easy to summon to your side of the field because it just requires dark monsters to summon. So this card is a really good card for this deck. One copy of Beat Cop from the Underworld. This card is extremely easy to summon as well because it just requires 2 monsters to summon this card. And if this card is link summoned using 2 dark monsters with different names as material, then you contribute 1 monster and then target 1 face-up card on the field and place a patrol counter on it, which is a really good effect to basically be able to put a patrol counter on a card by tributing it. And if you have Lair of Darkness, you contribute 1 of your opponent's monsters with this card. One copy of IP Masquerade so we can go for Unicorn during our opponent's turn. Cross Sheep because we do play fusion monsters in this deck. And then finally Anaconda because Anaconda is really good with our copy of Super Poly. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's a really fun deck to be able to play with. It's super nostalgic to be able to summon out Critias fusion monsters, and it's just a really, really good deck. Being able to summon out Mirror Force Dragon, Doom Dragon, and Destruction Dragon, while also being able to use one of the coolest field spells in the entire game is just absolutely awesome. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.